Reznik. My name is Pini Reznik. Yeah. So we are basically doing AI native infrastructure, development process, and implementation of AI in general. Right? So we are based all over. I'm based in Amsterdam, but the company is all over Europe. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask right now.
Really dumb question.
Yes.
When you say AI native, what does that mean?
I will try to explain that as part of this. But if by the end of it you don't know, then I'll happy to have a discussion. Okay, so this is a quote from that. I actually used quite some materials from about 10 years ago. So before Reznik, I started a company called Container Solutions, which was also mostly based in Amsterdam. We started it in 2014. So I have quite few talks from 2014, 15, 16 about original implementation of Docker and Kubernetes in really early days. And it's interesting now, 10 years later, how that basically translates into a new wave of ideas. So this is a quote from a very long time ago from Sequoia, which is an investment company. And they basically say, so you can see that this was released in roughly 2016 or something. So there's always progression of technologies. It never ends. And 10 years ago, it was about containers, right? So, but these waves of innovation never really end, right? So we are really, when I started my career, I actually worked a bit on mainframe, on VAX in Intel. And then most of my career I worked in general software development, what we call today legacy and monoliths and C++ and Java. But in the last 15 years or so, 12 years, it's about microservices and containers. And it was obvious already 10 years ago that we will get to the next wave. And at that point, we didn't know. So this is my slide from 2016. Actually, a person called Lukasz Guminski created it, and some people would know him. So every one of those waves of innovation, they go in certain progression. This is a common model of product lifecycle. Any technology or any product is adopted in this kind of thing. There is a bunch of ideas, and before the product is actually born, and then some idea is accepted as a good one, and then it starts small from development, and then a bit of introduction to a bit more people, and then growth and massive adoption, and then maturity and decline. And each one of these stages has its own personality in a way, or its own behavior. So a lot of what I'm going to say is based on the first book that I wrote about 6 years ago called Cloud Native Transformation, and now I'm finishing another one, which is going to be called something else, but roughly it's the extension. It's about AI native transformation in a way. If you want to download the mini book, sort of promo of the next one, you can do that. It's nice to be in a meetup and not in conference. It's very relaxed and unofficial. So this is a slide, me in one of the conferences, I don't remember, I think in Romania, talking about mass customization. Right, so this was an end of presentation, 2016, I think. End of presentation about containers and Kubernetes, I think, didn't even exist or just was started. And I was making predictions what containers will eventually lead to. And there were three predictions. One was mass customization, so basically people buying things not mass produced, but massively personalized, customized. So we will buy things that are personalized for us and unique for us. The second prediction was 3D printers, and the third one, robots, smart robots. So now looking 10 years later, almost 10 years later, this is from today, right? So this is Nike shoes. You can fully customize them. You can write your name, you can do whatever you like, right? So and then you can produce a personalized pair of shoes. You can have robots. They're not as smart yet, but they're there, right? Those are real robots, and this is just a subset of existing ones from Tesla, Boston Dynamics, and the Chinese one, Unit 3. They are actually quite smart. So this is 10 years later. I really don't know what happened to 3D printing, but that was a bad idea. But the idea behind that was that mass customization will require custom production, but actually the production lines learn how to produce unique, like they're not producing millions of pairs of shoes, but they produce pairs of shoes uniquely built for each person. It's not yet that massively available, but on the way. So, and that's how the industry sees it. So it's Industry 5.0, which is human-machine collaboration and hyper-personalization. And that's the description of that. So in the way we went through industrial revolution, right, when we replaced physical power and muscles of humans and animals with machines. And now we are replacing mental power with AI, on the way to sort of cyber-physical revolution when we create independent thinking machines, right? So self-driving cars, industrial robots, and other stuff that is actually independent and autonomous. But that was very much high level, like AI, big picture. Now about technology. So, like I said, I started my career from waterfall, in waterfall area, and my sort of running business career was mostly in cloud native, from Docker through Kubernetes through cloud native, and later native. So let's look first into cloud native. Coming back to this model, cloud native as a technology also had sort of adoption, and this is for every company. When you adopt cloud native, I don't know, when I would guess that everyone is using some sort of cloud or Kubernetes today. Anyone is still in like monolithic waterfall space? But there are attempts at least.
Yes.
But the way to adopt those technologies is actually quite consistent. There are many ways to fail adopting it, but the successful way is quite consistent, which is you start from this mode of pioneering, which is exploring new ideas, then bootstrapping, so building a small MVP, connecting it to the legacy so it actually works, then scaling it to a few small teams, then continue scaling to more and start optimizing and build platforms and build all kind of things that are actually consistent, automated things. And then eventually the idea, really where the value is in maturity. That's where everything is optimized, everything is working well, and you have really, really highly functional team and technology set up. That's where the value comes from. So we don't really want the beginning, right? We just want to go into maturity. Many companies don't get there. They sort of get stuck in the middle. And we can see what kind of patterns, I'm often talking design pattern terms. So what kind of patterns we see in each stage. In the pioneering stage, we see skunk work teams, so independent teams working on the side, plus sandbox, proof of concept, so totally independent and innovative teams just researching. Through taking executive commitment, going through creating small team, and like that. I won't go into details on each one. So how really cloud native transformation eventually ends up being? So what is a mature cloud native setup? So this is again from the previous book, maturity matrix of cloud native maturity matrix. This is something that whoever is cloud native supposed to be here, right, in this pink stage. This is a maturity matrix that I'm using for like 7 years. And the idea of transformation was to identify current state and move to the stable one. Right? And these are the design patterns you would expect to see in a mature cloud native environment. Yeah, so Agile, microservices, CI/CD, containers, Kubernetes, all those things, when I say them, they are now well understood, they're well developed. A lot of people actually know how to use them, how to build them, how to maintain them. It's a mature ecosystem, it's fully functional and fully developed. Right? There's CNCF, you go to CNCF landscape, you can find like, I don't know, what's the latest count, 3,000 points, what things inside landscape. We know how to get here, right? But it took 10 years, right? So now we build internal development platforms with different levels of automation towards the products and the technical side of this, right? So this is how cloud native looks like. Now, all that was a background, right? So there was a wave of innovation, which is transition from waterfall to cloud native, and now there is clearly happening a new wave of innovation, which is transition to AI native. Now, what challenges actually cloud native solve? So when I started my career, my first company was proper company was a company called Checkpoint, which was a security first firewall company basically. So it was all about securing internet. It was all about internet. The entire cloud native ecosystem is actually built to support internet, right? So because what we want is decentralized systems, build an independent separate teams and separate components, horizontally scalable. So cloud native is the best fit for internet, for actually large applications like Gmail, like whatever else, so Facebook, whatever you can imagine. So what cloud native solved is this ability to scale horizontally on team level and on technical level. What AI native is solving is sort of human creativity, right? So what's going to happen is basically still 80–90% of the work the software development teams, the engineering teams are doing are building things, right? So there is a bit of design, there's a bit of architecture and ideation, but eventually it's all about actually writing code. So 80–90% of our time we're spending on writing code or testing it or deploying it or doing mechanical work. In the way if we think in terms of industrial revolution, what people were digging in the field before tractors, right? So we are doing hands-on software development. And that is something that is going to, hopefully, how it goes, it's going to shrink to almost nothing by AI. And our role as humans is shifting from actually building code to expressing the intent of what we actually want to build and observing that actually the correct thing was built and it's ethically good and all kind of other things. So we're defining the intent and we are observing that it's built correctly and it's ethical. So this reversal of time that is going to be spent on actually building software is not just a small change, right? So it's a dramatic change in the way that we as software developers, people related to software development, actually going to do our work. Now, I'm not, like, I hear things like Microsoft people saying that in 2 years, 90% of the code in Microsoft will be written by AI. So I don't know if it's true or not. It could be in Microsoft. It's unlikely it would be across the board, right? It's just not practical. I mean, some people still do waterfall. I know people that still do COBOL. So it's very unlikely that the change will be so fast and so dramatic and so across the board. But it's already clear that in many teams, an experiment with AI takes, instead of 5 minutes on idea and then 2 weeks on building it, It takes 5 minutes on an idea and then a few seconds on actually building the piece of code and testing it. Almost, yeah, almost.
Half of it.
You can imagine with a bit more investment in AI tooling, like half a year or a year from now, the things becoming, like easy to manage. So what actually happens is that the time that we had in waterfall, like we're basically systematically removing the walls of confusion. Like we know wall of confusion for DevOps, which is between development and operations. But actually Agile before that removed the wall between development and testing and called it cross-functional teams. So we keep removing these walls, and effectively we are creating an environment where a person who is potentially not even an engineer or software developer can build software, deploy it, operate it, without actually being a large team of software developers, let's say. So this is very much work in progress, which is maturity matrix comparable to the cloud native maturity matrix. I'm not sure you can actually see what's written here. Probably not. I'll go a bit of more detail, but this is sort of an attempt to create a similar good state of what is AI native. By the way, the AI native, if it's not clear, it's parallel to cloud native, right? So there is a cloud, and we build an application that is natively running in the cloud. So it's built for the cloud, with cloud in mind from the beginning, which is microservices, containers, and Kubernetes, or dynamic scheduling. So AI native is the same thing. It's applications that are built for AI with AI in mind from the beginning. Not added later, not adjusted, but built for running in the AI environment, or utilizing or leveraging AI, whatever. So this is typical set of patterns, like we see in cloud native, we saw Kubernetes, microservices, and things like that. So this is current set of most common architectural, technical team patterns for AI native. I'm sure you heard about RAG, right? So this is the most common way of developing in-house AI stuff. There's MLOps, so using AI, different words is AI ops, whatever the name is. But basically, we're moving towards what's called agentic architecture, right? So there is a set of microservices which are algorithmic, so basically a bunch of people building independent components. Each one is communicating with others, and all together they create bigger system. In a way, that's where we're going with AI, where some of those components are actually independent and built based on AI. So they are actually non-deterministic, AI-driven, and each one is doing something else. And they talk between themselves, and jointly they create a larger scale system. And that requires different infrastructure, different sort of way of running the infrastructure, and different way of operating these microservices, and eventually potentially different way of structuring the teams. Because the current way, the most common way to structure the teams for cloud native is team topologies. It won't be the right way to run teams potentially for AI native. Right? So
Team topologies, you said?
yes, which is specialized teams where there's a different name for that. It's a cross-functional teams for development of separate components, plus platform team, plus supporting teams in a way. And they have names like stream-aligned team, platform team, internal complex subsystem, so something like that, and platform, and there was fourth one, right? So this is like enabling. It's like a test for But this is the current state, right? So we're not sure for like 100% that this is how AI native systems will look like. This is just the current state of patterns that typically people use, also the technical patterns. What's important specifically for AI is that AI is, again, non-deterministic, and we don't really know why things are happening. So there's quite a lot of things to express human intent in the right way, then make sure that we actually understand what happened, and we actually can control and observe and control what's done by AI, so it can be effective, but it's actually going to do the thing that we intended it to do. Right? And eventually, what we want, and the same thing as we did with cloud native, is that we want to build platforms that actually accumulate the stable and repeatable and reusable parts of the work we are doing. So that's where we put all the consistent stuff that actually works and stable, and we want to keep the innovation part limited, right? So we want to be able to innovate as much as possible, but without rebuilding all the applications and all the services all the time. So what would be included in a platform like that for AI native? So those are the key components that potentially would go in a typical AI native platform, which is data management. Right? We talk less about data in cloud native world because it's sort of not as important. Obviously we have data, but we figure out, because we build those microservices on top of that and we use the data, so it's sort of hidden from us. But in AI, data becomes a first-class citizen. So we use specialized infrastructure, which is GPUs and all kind of other things, specifically with emphasis on edge, right? So currently we're talking about training the models on large cloud systems with GPUs. A lot of energy and a lot of effort is going to do that, in doing that. But in the future, we're talking about actually doing the inference, the connection of own data and own, okay, start back. There is actually training models and inference, which is when you put your own data and it connects with the model, thank you. And then you get the results. Actually, question, how many actually know a lot about AI? Okay, good, because I'm sort of a bit like, where do I need to go? Like, very detailed and not detailed. Who doesn't know anything about AI? Okay, good. So then I'll just skip the details. So specifically talking about the edge, so what we expect is the platforms will not be just about running the training of the models and the inference, but they will also go expand to the edge. For example, a couple of years ago, Elon Musk was talking about running or basically giving Tesla cars as extension of the cloud, right? So the cloud will expand to all kind of different locations. In many companies, like let's say you have a supermarket where you have a central sort of brain system, plus in each branch of the supermarket there's some local thinking. So all of that should be managed by a single platform. Right? And then essential parts of AI is explainability and security and all kind of things around actually making sure that AI is doing what we expect it to do. Right? Without going into too much detail, I'll just, there are sort of standard ways of creating AI platforms, and they're not actually that much different from any other platform. It's just a bit of different tools, right? So this architectural diagram is very similar to the cloud native architectural diagram. It's the same layers. So there is underlying setup is not that much different from cloud native at this point. But we don't actually know yet where it's going to develop itself. And this is a bit of a guess about, who knows about this self-driving cars? They have stages of self-driving, like assistance.
Like levels.
Yes, levels. Right, so, there's, you are driving, right, then the second level, it advises you like the,
Assisted.
yeah, but it manages the speeds, cruise control thing, yeah. So sort of like cruise control, and then going more in depth, it assists and actually can help and can drive with you or for you. And then the last level is when it drives on its own. So there are no controls, there is no wheel. So in the way, we can think of the similar way the AI is going to go in software development. So this model is based on a different model from Mobileye, which has 4 stages, which is basically developers building the software without AI. And the second stage, developer basically using AI capabilities. And then the third stage, when code is written by AI and developers approve it and make sure it's correct and test it. And the last one, it's done without the developers being in the loop. Right? So, now this is not happening like today, yeah, but potentially that's the direction. Right? The question where we are now is somewhere in between stage 2 and 3. So there's a bit of assistance, and some of the applications can be written and tested by developers, but we're definitely not yet in stage 4. And there's still a lot of things to be done to get there. Yes?
In that categorization, okay, this week I've been sort of playing with Crew AI to do stuff and to help me in my job search. And I basically go, tell me how to do this Crew AI. It does it. I go, run. It gets stuck in a loop. Say, hey, this is a problem with the loop. Something's going wrong. You go, oh yeah, fuck, I did this. And then, well, it doesn't say fuck,
You can. They don't care.
And I do it a couple of times, and all of a sudden it gives me everything I want after 3 or 4 iterations. And is that level 2 or level 3?
I would guess it's more of, actually, it's sort of in between. Right? The point is, it's sort of, it doesn't really matter, right? I would say it's probably getting closer. Once you don't need to do it 7 times, then it probably will be level 3. Right, but because you are too involved, it's probably more of assistant, less actual development. I think eventually what we will see, long term, what we will see is level 3 is that...
Is an agent doing what I just did. Say, hey, this is rubbish, you should fix that.
So what's going to happen is that there will be small teams getting together without much development capabilities, right? They're talking about stuff, they're figuring out, having ideas, and they are talking to an interface, right? A UX which is verbal potentially, right? So which is not like, there's no code involved, but they are capable of expressing their intent of what do they want to build to a machine. And on the other side of it, there is a functional software that can be deployed and managed and without the involvement, right? That's what's going to happen at some point.
Okay, so behind the scenes, you have like a group of agents that say that do the job that
Yes.
I just had.
So the agents is just implementation detail, right? So in a sense, yeah, agents, they're a bunch of independent components that are running, and each one is like, we tend to think of AI as a chatbot, right? But in reality, chatbot is just one thing, one big monolithic AI model. in reality, it will be a lot of smaller components, each one doing something else, because in some cases you want deterministic predictability of algorithmic component. Some others you want, I don't care, or just give me something.
But agents are basically lots of little chatbots with access to tools.
Basically, yeah. And but the point is that it's not about classification. The point is that this is the idea. That's where we are going, right? So where we are going is that, and that's sort of a question. So this is CEO of GitHub. He's basically saying developers becoming architects and system thinkers, right? So if we're like, one question that comes up all the time is what is going to happen to us as developers? If we compare AI revolution to sort of industrial revolution when we replaced people going after the horse in the field, and we replace them with tractors, like we are those people effectively, right? So what is going to happen to us after AI? And effectively, what people are saying is that we will become more of architects and express intent. Because at the end, I think we all understand that AI has no intent or needs or wants, right? It's a computer. It doesn't do things because it needs or wants to do them, but because it's told to do them. Right? We as humans, we want to do things, right? We decide what's going to happen. Now maybe some years from now, it's going to change and AI will acquire its own wants and needs. That's outside of scope of this presentation.
In
right?
20 years. In 20 years.
Potentially, right? But at this point, what is our responsibility? Is basically, our responsibility is to tell AI what to do, right? Observe that it did what we intended it to do, and make sure it didn't do stupid things, right? It means that we need to be involved in what's happening. We need to have a possibility to intervene, which is actually very difficult, right? Because what we see with developers is that there are all kinds of questions coming up. Like, I'm as a senior developer, my tasks are difficult to replace by AI. But a junior developer that is doing things that I told them to do is actually fairly easy to replace. So let's replace them, okay? But then 3 years from now, what's going to happen, right? We will have no seniors because they will lose connection to real life, right? They will lose the capability to rehearse their skills, and we will have no new seniors incoming because we basically replace juniors. So this is obviously not the right way to do it. So the sort of solution for that is to say it's actually not different from, for example, replacing assembly or C with more advanced languages on more higher level of abstraction. So what we will need to do is to actually use AI to tell AI what to do, use AI to understand what it does, use AI to test it. So actually it becomes sort of beyond our comprehension what's happening inside the model, but we absolutely have to understand what's happening as a result of the action of the computer. Because the AI is not limited, like at this point today, it's limited to computer world, right? So it's ChatGPT, LLMs, whatever, so we're talking agents, but obviously it's already connected to those robots that I showed earlier, right? So effectively we are moving towards physical world with physical entities driven by a machine, with us expressing intent of what we want them to do and being able to control what they're doing, right? And there's so many open questions there that I have no answers. So it's not clear to me how the explainability will come, how we can intervene in time. Like imagine a self-driving car going 100 kilometers an hour and there's a mistake in AI, or there's like a trolley problem thing. Like we can't intervene. Yeah, there is no point for us to even try to intervene, right? There is potentially there's no even a will to intervene. That's more of a question, not answer.
You can shout.
Yeah, but that's probably too late, right? So because our response time is irrelevant in this kind of situation. Yeah. So the question, then what would I recommend people to do when they want to start doing AI? I think it sort of connects back to the story of transformation. I think it's not really clear yet what a mature AI native system will look like, right? There are a lot of good ideas like agents and MCP. We'll hear more about MCP programs and solutions it creates. There's a lot of good ideas, and obviously the AI today, even in the last 2 years, it improved dramatically, and there's no question it's going to be in our lives all the time. But it's not yet clear what's going on. So it's very similar to Kubernetes and Docker in 2014 and 15. So it's really early, and we don't know what the final state will look like. So the recommendation would be, you can't let it be without getting involved. Right? It's obviously going to be big. Whoever is not involved probably is going to miss out. But on the other side, going all in is probably premature too. But then when it's going to be mature, some people say in a year or in 2 years, some others say in 5 years. I actually, the last few weeks, I keep asking people what they think. Is it going to be like 90% of code written by AI for all companies within 2 years or within 5 years? Who thinks 2 years?
I think never.
5 years? Never.
Never. Like completely replace developers.
90%.
I don't know why. I'm more like, 50, 60.
Okay.
I feel the way we need to look at it now is accountants in the 1980s. In the 1980s, accountants used to have to do every single fucking calculation. Then along came spreadsheets. And then all of the 90% of their work disappeared. So we've got less accountants now? No, we've got more. Why? Because their level of abstraction is higher, and they can think more strategically. We can think more strategically about the code, we can think about the right.
And I think, so I'll give you a couple of, so you can register for newsletter. We'll share a lot of more ideas. A few things, so my personal experience of working with AI. So I started, so I'm working on a book. When ChatGPT came out, I didn't use it in the beginning, right? So, and it took quite a while, but I started using it to write content, blog posts, and working on a book about, I guess, a year and a half ago. And actually not even ChatGPT, but Gemini, because I got beta account in Gemini at some point, for whatever reason. Anyway, there is a naive way of using AI, which is like, go and write me a blog post on AI native. That just doesn't work. Like, it's just not, like, it doesn't understand the context. It doesn't have your intent. Like, what do you want? Who is your audience? Well, like, I'm sure you all heard these stories, like how that is not going to work. So now, a year and a half later, after so many iterations, there was like first 6 months of just fighting without getting any good results. And then suddenly things started to change, right? So the prompts became, so actually both, the models changed and also my way of prompting changed. So the models changed, they got more context. The context window became dramatically bigger. Like today I can put entire book, even 2 books, for context, and it understands, like as extra on top of LLM itself. It wasn't possible in the beginning. But also I can tell things like, I wanted to use this tone of voice. I wanted, like, at some point I put my first book as a context and said, use the language there, like style and the language from the first book to write the second one. This is like magic, yeah? Because then it takes 20,000, 30, 40,000 of words and you write it in your own language without you being involved, and it's 95% correct. Like, this is just amazing, right? But it's still important to understand that there is more or less 0 ideas. So now I have a book which is more or less finished, 60,000 words. There's more or less 0 ideas that came from LLM. But on the other side, I'm as being non-native English speaker who finds it difficult to write text, could write entire 60,000 books with my own ideas in whatever time it took, almost a year. Probably it would take anyway a year, actually. But I think this is sort of the experience, right? So there's, you need to express yourself very well. You need to provide a lot of context. You need to prompt it to ask for specific things. But if you don't, then it does things that it would take me years to do. Right, so it removes a lot of burden and a lot of things that I wouldn't even be able to do myself. Right? There's another example. So we do a lot of round tables. We did 4 round tables, and we're going to do a few more. Yes?
There's also an argument to be made, right? You said correctly. What are we looking from ChatGPT or a model? For ideas, or are we doing research on context? Because if we're looking for ideas, then we're doing, well, like you said, in the book, there's 0 ideas that come from an AI, but there shouldn't be any ideas at all.
Yeah.
Because the AI is going to just research our context to align with
Yeah.
what is numerically close to what you are looking for.
So in a way, this is exactly the point. So this is my learning curve, right? So we don't ask it to bring ideas. I mean, you can ask it to help you do research, right? But don't ask it to bring ideas. Bring your own ideas. But then the heavy work of writing is suddenly no time, right? If you want to rewrite the entire text with, for example, I did patterns, like a long list of patterns, and I wanted to embed them in the text, and you just give the patterns and the book, and it understands the book, understands the patterns, and suggests exact location, exact placements where you can put them, which probably would take me weeks to do myself.
That's
Right.